San Diego, the city of golden beaches shimmering under the sunlight, a mild year-round climate, and lively coastal streets filled with laughter. Yet behind this glamorous facade lies a harsh reality. Thousands of people are living on the margins of society, forgotten amid the whirlwind of poverty and deprivation. This is a place of stark contrasts, just a few miles from luxury mansions, expensive hotels, and famous tourist spots are damp underpasses, cold sidewalks, and cramped, filthy shelters. This documentary will take you into the world of these people right in the heart of a prosperous city that nonetheless bears one of the highest homelessness rates in the United States. Why, in a wealthy place like San Diego, do people still have to live in such destitution? Who are they, and what is their life truly like? We are here to expose these hidden corners, to show that homelessness is not merely a personal tragedy, but a mirror reflecting a social system that is breaking apart. Mornings in San Diego often open with a symphony of colors and sounds. The first light of day, soft as silk, glides over the white-capped waves and slips into the glass windows of seaside cafes. The aroma of freshly roasted coffee mingles with the scent of warm bread spilling into the streets, while the laughter of tourists blends with the cries of seagulls. But just a few streets away from the Gaslamp Quarter, the city's most glamorous entertainment district, the picture changes entirely. Sunlight is blocked by faded tarps, the scent of bread replaced by the damp, musty smell of nylon, and the lively chatter gives way to the whistling of wind through cold concrete walls. According to a 2024 report, San Diego is facing one of the most severe homelessness crises in its history. In just 2 years, the homeless population has risen by 14%, bringing the total number of unhoused individuals in the city to over 8,000. These are not just lifeless numbers on paper. Each of these 8,000 names carries a story, a memory, a life that once had a home but is now pushed to the edges of society. Downtown San Diego, particularly the Gaslamp Quarter and the northern parts of the city, have become hotspots, areas with the highest concentration of homeless residents. On sidewalks that once rolled out the red carpet for tourists now stand rows of patchwork tents, piles of worn belongings, thin blankets, broken chairs, torn suitcases, all like a museum of loss. At night, the dim yellow streetlights illuminate weary faces, sleepless eyes, and hands clutching what little warmth they can from a paper cup with the last drops of cold coffee. San Diego is only about 1,500 shelter beds, meaning that more than 3,000 people are forced to spend the night on sidewalks, under bridges, or in the noisy gaps of bus stations. The city has spent over $35 million to address this issue, a figure that sounds large, but compared to the scale of the crisis, it is like a single drop falling into a parched desert. Emergency aid programs have helped some find shelter, but the majority are left behind, battling rain, wind, and the indifference of passersby. In 2024, thanks to long-term housing programs, the number of homeless people dropped by 10% compared to 2023. This is a positive sign, but not enough to stop the rising tide. For behind every person helped, many more are newly falling into the same situation. With rent prices still climbing, jobs unstable, and the cost of living ever higher. Today, you might be a tourist strolling the streets, but tomorrow you could be searching for a place to sleep in a dark corner of the city. San Diego, with its postcard-perfect coastline and vibrant energy, now faces a brutal truth. A city cannot truly be called prosperous when thousands of its residents must sleep under the cold night sky. And as you pass a street corner where the scent of coffee mingles with the musty odor of tented shelters, you realize this is not just their story, it is a reminder for all of us. The causes of San Diego's homelessness crisis are not only found in cold statistical charts, but hidden in every street corner, every rental contract, and every paycheck that makes people sigh. First and foremost is the sky-high cost of housing, an invisible yet impenetrable wall blocking the path to stability for thousands of people. In downtown San Diego, the rent for a one-bedroom apartment has soared to $2,500 a month. Compared to an average annual salary of around $45,000, that rent is like an anchor, dragging down low-income earners and even those with steady jobs but little financial cushion. With such costs, even families who are temporarily safe could be pushed out onto the streets within months after losing a job or facing an unexpected crisis. The supply of affordable housing is even scarcer. while the city's population grows as rapidly as a rising tide. Every year, more than 25,000 people move to San Diego, many from already expensive areas like Los Angeles or San Francisco, bringing with them additional pressure on the housing market. Yet the pace of affordable housing construction can't keep up with population growth, leaving a huge gap between demand and supply. That gap, day by day, is being filled with tents and tarps on sidewalks. And even having a job does not guarantee you can keep a roof over your head. San Diego's labor market may have a low unemployment rate, but it is filled with part-time jobs, short-term contracts, and positions without health insurance. Workers juggle 2 or 3 jobs just to get by, and a single bout of serious illness, an unexpected medical bill, or a few weeks without work can cause everything to collapse. In San Diego, employed no longer means housed. It's a harsh reality where the distance between safety and homelessness can be as thin as a sheet of paper, and it can tear at any moment. If housing costs in the labor market are the large waves pushing people out of their homes, then mental health struggles and addiction are the undertows pulling them deeper into the cycle of homelessness. In San Diego, an estimated 30% of the homeless population lives with mental health disorders from depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. These are not wounds visible to the naked eye, yet they silently erode the ability to work, maintain relationships, and seek new opportunities. At the same time, more than 40% struggle with addiction, from alcohol and drugs to prescription painkillers meant to ease physical pain, but which end up binding the mind. When these two issues occur together, the path back to a stable life is nearly blocked. Homeless individuals must battle not only hunger and cold, but also endless inner wars. And even when they want to seek help, San Diego lacks enough treatment facilities to receive them. The few rehabilitation centers and psychiatric hospitals available are often overwhelmed, with waiting lists so long that many give up before their turn comes. Meanwhile, mobile support services are like lone beacons in the night, trying to shine light but unable to cover the vast darkness spreading around. This makes it even harder for those who have hit rock bottom to climb up, and every day, more people fall into the same situation, creating a spiral the city has yet to break. Under mounting pressure from the homelessness crisis, San Diego's government has repeatedly rolled out measures to ease the situation. Temporary housing sites have been set up in strategic locations, and emergency assistance programs launched to provide safe sleeping spaces, hot meals, and basic medical care for those wandering the streets. On paper, these are well-intentioned and necessary steps. But looking deeper into reality, it's clear that most of these solutions are only short-term stopgaps, like a small bandage over a bleeding wound. It may cover the surface, but it cannot stop the blood, and certainly cannot heal the root cause of the problem. One of the clearest examples is the cleanup campaigns targeting makeshift encampments operations, often promoted as efforts to improve the city's appearance. Convoys of city trucks, accompanied by security forces, move into areas with high concentrations of homeless individuals, collecting tents, blankets, pillows, and personal belongings, and loading everything into garbage trucks. Within hours, the street appears empty and tidier in the eyes of nearby residents and tourists. But that effect is short-lived. Within days or weeks, tents reappear on another street corner, in areas farther from downtown, or in locations that draw less attention. In reality, the problem is never solved. It is simply pushed out of sight of the more fortunate. In the gap left by the temporary measures of local authorities, nonprofit organizations have become a critical lifeline for many homeless individuals. These are small but dedicated groups that provide free daily meals, distribute warm clothing in winter, offer medical and psychological care, and even help some people regain housing through transitional programs. Beyond meeting basic material needs, many organizations also hold career counseling sessions, teach life skills, and guide the homeless through the processes to access social assistance or healthcare services. However, most of these organizations operate on tight budgets, relying heavily on community donations and the efforts of volunteers. Meanwhile, the demand for aid continues to grow as the number of homeless people increases year after year. This forces them to make difficult choices, such as prioritizing only a small group for assistance or reducing the frequency of meal distributions to stretch their resources. Every meal handed out means many other outstretched hands go unanswered. Every bed in a shelter means dozens more still have to sleep in the cold. This imbalance creates a vicious cycle. The government tries to address immediate issues but lacks a long-term strategy. Community organizations do their best but don't have the resources to meet the full demand. Meanwhile, homelessness quietly spreads, shifting from one area to another, hiding in places few notice, but never disappearing. To break this cycle, San Diego needs a change in approach, a long-term vision rather than short-term cleanup campaigns. This means the government must work more closely with nonprofits, businesses, and local communities, not just to create temporary shelters, but real homes. At the same time, funding and resources for comprehensive support services must be expanded, including affordable housing, mental health care, addiction recovery, and job training. Only when the city unites the strength of the entire system, from government and community to volunteer groups, can it turn fragmented efforts into a unified strategy. Then, instead of constantly pushing the problem into a new corner, San Diego can truly begin to eradicate the homelessness crisis that has been deeply rooted in the city for far too long. To escape the harsh cycle of the homelessness crisis, San Diego needs a long-term and comprehensive strategy, solutions that not only provide temporary relief, but can fundamentally change the lives of those living on the margins of society. The first priority must be to expand affordable housing programs. A stable home is the foundation for all other support efforts. Without a safe shelter, medical, psychological, or employment assistance can hardly be effective. The city needs to accelerate projects building apartments with rent levels suited to low-income residents, alongside tax incentives and financial support for investors, businesses, or nonprofits participating in this sector. But simply constructing housing is not enough. Each apartment for a homeless individual should come with wraparound services to support reintegration into society, such as career counseling, personal financial management guidance, legal assistance, and connections to skills training programs. Experience from many other cities has shown that the housing with supportive services model not only gives homeless individuals a place to sleep, but also equips them with the tools to stand on their own. This must be a top priority, because once a person has a home, they can begin to think about finding a job, learning a new skill, or taking care of their health. Alongside the housing issue, San Diego must strongly focus on mental health and addiction recovery services. In reality, a significant proportion of homeless individuals lost their homes precisely because of these issues. Conversely, life on the streets, with its constant pressures and harsh conditions, only worsens mental illness and addiction, creating a loop with no escape. Expanding rehabilitation centers, building more mental health care facilities, and deploying mobile support teams that can directly reach the homeless in encampments or on sidewalks is of utmost importance. These services must be personalized. Each individual has their own story and circumstances. A veteran with PTSD needs a different support plan than a young person struggling with drug addiction or a single mother who has lost her job. Accurately assessing needs and providing tailored solutions not only saves resources, but also increases the chances of success. In addition, it is essential to create a healthy recovery environment. This goes beyond providing medication or therapy. It includes building shared community spaces, encouraging group activities, offering life skills classes, and forming peer support groups. Such social connections can serve as an emotional anchor, helping the homeless believe they still have a place in the community. All of these solutions will remain theoretical unless there is coordinated collaboration between the government, the private sector, and the community. The government must take the lead and coordinate efforts. Businesses can contribute financially or create job opportunities, while communities and nonprofits directly implement and sustain programs. This is not a task that can be accomplished overnight, but step by step, project by project, and person by person, progress can reshape the bigger picture. Ultimately, it must be recognized that a home is not just four walls and a roof. It is a symbol of safety, trust, and the chance to rebuild one's life. When someone is given the keys to an apartment and also receives support to learn a trade, find work, and take care of their health, they are not just escaping homelessness, they are being given a real opportunity to live a new life. If San Diego dares to invest in such sustainable solutions, the city will not only reduce homelessness, but also build a stronger, more compassionate community where everyone has the chance to get back up after a fall. Amid a crisis that seems far too large for one individual to make a difference, the truth is that every small action can help shift the tide if done with persistence and compassion. And one of the most direct ways to make a positive impact is by supporting nonprofit organizations. Across San Diego, dozens of organizations work tirelessly every day, from preparing hot meals and distributing warm clothing to providing medical care and psychological counseling. They are the silent night watchmen, protecting and caring for those without shelter. Financial contributions, even small ones, can help them continue operating, buy more blankets and medicine, or expand their support services. Beyond money, you can donate essential items: coats, shoes, sleeping bags, or even personal hygiene products, things that may seem small but are invaluable when living outdoors. But helping does not stop at material donations. Volunteering is a deeply meaningful way to connect directly with people experiencing hardship. Just a few hours each week serving food, talking, or guiding someone through social assistance paperwork can restore a sense of being heard and valued, something many homeless individuals have lost in daily life. Many volunteers share that these simple conversations have changed the way they see homelessness and helped them realize that behind every person is a story worth understanding. Finally, never underestimate the power of raising awareness. Sharing information about San Diego's homelessness crisis on social media, participating in community forums, or encouraging friends and colleagues to join volunteer efforts can create a ripple effect of impact. When more people become aware of the problem and are willing to act, the pressure increases on governments and responsible organizations to seek and implement more sustainable solutions. Every contribution, whether it's time, money, or your voice, is a building block in creating a stronger, more compassionate community. And sometimes, just one timely helping hand or a simple act of kindness is enough for someone to find hope in the darkness. The homelessness issue in San Diego is not only a personal tragedy for those without a home, but also a major public health challenge. In high-density homeless areas such as downtown San Diego or the coastal districts, unsanitary living conditions create an ideal environment for disease transmission. Streets packed with tents, uncollected garbage, and stagnant water become breeding grounds for bacteria and pathogens. Illnesses such as pneumonia, respiratory infections, and skin diseases not only directly affect the homeless population but can also spread to the surrounding community. The interconnectedness between residential areas, tourist zones, and these concentrated homeless spots means the risk of outbreaks is ever present, especially in the context of climate change, which brings unpredictable weather and weakens community immunity. This burden quickly translates into massive healthcare and social costs. Every year, San Diego spends millions of dollars on emergency medical services for the homeless, from ambulance calls and hospital admissions to post-treatment care. However, these expenditures often address only immediate symptoms rather than root causes, resulting in a costly and ineffective cycle. At the same time, the lack of housing drives increases in crime, violence, and public disorder. When a portion of the population is pushed to the margins of society, cracks in security and trust within the community become more visible than ever. The impact goes beyond health and welfare. It directly affects the city's economy. San Diego prides itself on being a renowned tourist destination, with its beaches, national parks, and clean air. But when the city's image becomes associated with streets lined with tents and visible homelessness, tourists begin to think twice. Real estate, another major revenue source, also suffers as areas near homeless hotspots lose value and investors grow wary. Small businesses in those areas report declining foot traffic and are forced to spend more on protecting their property, cutting into profits and discouraging expansion. Beyond the economy, the very image of San Diego, a beautiful and vibrant coastal city, is under serious threat. Photos of shantytown-like areas next to tourist attractions, or videos showing people sleeping along sidewalks, have become a source of negative discussion on social media and in the press. For a city heavily reliant on tourism and investment, this is a black mark that will be difficult to erase without significant improvement. Faced with this reality, no one can remain on the sidelines. Government and community must work closely together to find long-term solutions, rather than relying solely on short-term, cosmetic measures. Providing stable housing, expanding mental health care programs, increasing addiction treatment services, and investing in social reintegration initiatives are all essential first steps. This is not just a humanitarian act, it's a smart strategy to protect public health, strengthen the economy, and preserve San Diego's reputation on the world stage. The future of San Diego in addressing the homelessness crisis depends entirely on its ability to break free from the pattern of temporary fixes. Shelters, encampment cleanups, and emergency aid may be necessary to address immediate needs, but they cannot stop the growing number of people being pushed onto the streets. To bring real change, the city must adopt long-term, comprehensive policies that tackle the root causes, from building more affordable housing and creating sustainable employment opportunities to improving the quality and accessibility of mental health care and addiction recovery services. Housing must be the top priority, but it cannot stop at simply putting up apartments. It must be the foundation of a sustainable, affordable housing system capable of lasting for decades. The San Diego government needs to work hand in hand with community organizations, businesses, and investors to launch large-scale community housing projects, while also offering incentives to encourage private sector participation. Models such as transitional housing programs, where homeless individuals can live temporarily in an apartment while searching for jobs and learning new skills, must be expanded, as they not only provide shelter but also pave the way for reintegration. At the same time, the city must develop a comprehensive plan for social reintegration. This is especially vital for those with limited skills or burdens of mental health challenges. Job training courses, paid internship programs, or part-time job opportunities with healthcare support can help them gradually rebuild their confidence and ability to support themselves. Equally important, long-term policy cannot work without strong community engagement. When residents feel they are part of the solution through awareness campaigns, volunteer activities, or partnerships with local authorities, barriers of stigma and indifference begin to break down. Once the community stands together, the drive for improvement becomes stronger and more enduring than any administrative directive. If San Diego stays committed to this path, in just a few years we could see a city known not only for its beaches and sunshine, but also as a model of compassion and effective social crisis management. A place where everyone, regardless of their starting point, has the chance to find a home, a job, and a life worth living. The final question remains, echoing as a challenge to us all. Will we continue to walk past this suffering as if it doesn't exist, or will we truly act to bring change? No one can single-handedly erase the entire crisis, but every action, no matter how small, has the power to spread. A donation, a few hours of volunteering, or simply sharing this story so more people can see the truth. All can become crucial links in the chain of change. Picture a San Diego where no one has to sleep on the sidewalk, where a home is not a privilege but a basic human right. That reality will not come from patchwork fixes, but from a long-term, comprehensive, and effective support system, one that combines sustainable housing, healthcare, job opportunities, and the empathy of the entire community. We can start today with the smallest of steps. Change never comes from indifference, it comes from people who believe that a more humane city is entirely possible. And San Diego is worth every effort we can make together to turn that vision into reality.